Okay, so I thought we would do just a review of the torso model from the classroom. I've set everything up here just to go over organs that we have big picture. Here's liver, that would be in the right upper quadrant. Here's the stomach. It's large intestines, basically framing small intestines, which would be in the center. So let's take it apart. Here we have liver, and if we look on the underside of the liver, this would be gallbladder. At this point, we do have our duct system, and we'll go over that in a little bit, but this would be liver. This ligament here, that's dividing the liver into left lobe and right lobe. Remember, anatomical position would be falciform ligament. Okay, and then we can look at the stomach, and if we want to go over landmarks or regions of the stomach itself, this would be esophagus traveling down, so we can see that on the model here. This sphincter here would be the lower esophageal sphincter, otherwise known as cardiac sphincter, otherwise known as gastroesophageal sphincter. Any of those would be acceptable names. This kind of rounded shaped area here on the top is the fundus of the stomach. This would be the body of the stomach, and at this point where it gets a little narrow, this would be the pylorus. Okay, this curvature here would be greater curvature, so it's more inferior. This more superior concave curvature would be the lesser curvature. And then stomach is going to end with the pyloric sphincter, which is going to control emptying of the stomach into the next section, which would be the small intestines. So I'm going to take off a couple of things here. This is where pyloric sphincter would be. This is where stomach is meeting up with the small intestines. So at this point we start the beginning part of the small intestines. And so the first part is the duodenum, and the middle part of the small intestines would be the jejunum, and the terminal part of the small intestines is the ileum. So on here we can see this would be the very end of the small intestines. This is ileum. We can pick it up on this here. So this would be ileum as it's joining into cecum, which would be this pocket. If you remember seeing that on the cadavers, this pocket area here, this is the beginning of the large intestines. So we create a junction here. There's a valve, and this is called the ileocecal valve. So ileocecal connecting ileum to cecum. Also important in this area here is the appendix, which is located on the cecum. So if we look back here, I don't want to forget about this little guy in here. This is the sphincter of Oddi. So at this point we've got from pancreas, we've got pancreatic duct, emptying pancreatic juices as well as bile from the gallbladder, which has been made in the liver, and it's basically being secreted into the duodenum at this point, and this is the sphincter of Oddi. Okay, so if we follow large intestines up, we start up this side. This is the ascending colon. This would be transverse colon, and right here we've got a bend. Okay, and that's called the hepatic flexure because it's right under the liver. If you remember where the liver is, liver's right here. So this is the hepatic flexure, transverse colon, and then we have another bend in the large intestines, and this would be the splenic flexure. It's right underneath the spleen. The spleen would be on the left side of the body. And then we head down to descending colon. And then you get a little curve down here, the S curve, and that would be sigmoid colon. Rectum is the next part, and then finally anal canal at the very end. Okay, just a couple other things I want to mention. This connective tissue right here that's connecting transverse colon. This would be the mesocolon, and specifically the transverse mesocolon that's attaching transverse colon to the posterior abdominal wall. And then if we look, at this point you see this connective tissue structure that's got blood vessels embedded in it. That would be representing the mesentery, which houses the mesenteric arteries and veins supplying the intestine.